Hello, in this video we're going to learn how to just make our graphs look a little bit better. If you don't know how to make a graph, go back to the previous video to figure that out. So if we take a look over here, I've got the effect of stirring on the pH of alka-seltzer and vinegar. So my x-axis is time in seconds, but I've got data up until 120 seconds and then like nothing between 120 and 140 because I stopped recording the data at 120 seconds. So this is pretty much blank space that we do not need. And it's probably not very helpful in our graph. So to alleviate that or fix that, we're going to change the scale. Double click on any of the numbers in the x-axis. Then you should get to a screen that looks like this. Yours might actually already be like popped up and that would be great. Awesome. If it looks like this, come over to the little bar chart, then click Axes Options. So for many of you, it just might have popped up with this. Great, perfect. For those of you that it didn't or when it doesn't, click that little bar chart and then click Axes Options. So I know I want my bounds, my minimum and my maximum to be different. Well, at least my minimum is fine at 0, but my maximum should be 120 seconds. So I'm going to change that to 120. Then my data looks like it goes up, I want to say every 5 seconds. So I can change my major lines. My major lines are like these darker gray lines, and the numbers that tell me pretty much what the numbers are. So if I did this every 5, it kind of gets a little congested, especially over here. So what I can do instead is make my major units something like 10, and then make my minor units go up by 5. So it doesn't look like it changed much here, but if I right click on any of these numbers, I can click Add Minor Grid Lines, and you'll see that teeny tiny little lines have been added in to represent, hey, this is 5 seconds, that big one's 10, that one's 15, 20, and so on and so forth. So it looks like all my points have corresponding lines down to the bottom. And whether or not it's labeled, it's fine as long as you know what it goes up by. So I will do the same thing over here on this graph. Again, for some reason, it keeps going over to 140. So I'm going to double click on any of those numbers. This pops up. My maximum I want to change to 120. My major I want to change to 10. And my minor I want to change to 5. I can right click on any of these numbers and say add minor grid lines. So again, those little lines at the 5s pop up. Note, with your bounds, sometimes your minimum goes to like a negative number. Just double check that. It does it automatically sometimes, so fix it, make it go to 0 or whatever your minimum is. I also need to do the same thing for my y-axis. So I could even, let's say, click and drag, make this a little bit bigger. I would say I might set my minimum here to 20 because there's nothing below 20 here, which is good. And I might set my maximum to about 70 because nothing goes above 70. So again, I'm going to double click on any of those numbers. Click on this little graph that pops up. Axis Options. My minimum would be 20. My maximum goes to 70. Okay, cool. So that didn't change that's negative, which is good. And it looks good at going up by every 5. I think that the reader should be able to read that. So I think I can leave that as is. If I want to add minor lines, I'm going to right click and add minor lines. So you can see there's like teeny tiny little lines in there. I think it should be okay. We'll go with it. And then I'm going to come back over to this one. And I'm going to make this graph just a little bit bigger so I got some more space to work with. My pH probably looks like it starts at 2 and goes up to 4.5. So again, I'm going to double click on any of these numbers, come over to this bar graph, Axis Options. My minimum, let's make that 2. Let's keep my maximum at 4.5. That looks good. And then my major, this goes up by 0.5. Which might be okay. Let's see if we like change it to 0.2, what that looks like. Okay. And then my minor, maybe I want to change that to 0.01. Let's see what that looks like. And then I'm going to right click on any of these numbers, add minor grid lines. Ooh, that does not look good. So maybe I have it go up by every one instead. That looks better. So again, in this video, we showed you how to just make your graph look a little bit better by filling up the entire space with the graph itself. All right, one thing I want to caution you on, I know a lot of folks like to change the chart design to be like this. Sure, that looks great if you're looking at it on a screen, but if this needs to get printed out, this is not going to look good. And it's also going to waste a lot of toner. Don't forget, you can hit Control Z to undo any of that sort of stuff that you play around with. So again, if you were doing this in a presentation and you wanted to have like a black background or a different background, sure, that's fine. But for something that we're going to print or submit on a lab report or lab write-up, I would stick to this. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Take care.